makes me be blue. Yes, it makes me be true. And I'd even be glad just if you said thinking of you. Someone time to me. They might never be mean. They might never be cross, trying to lead the ball. They wouldn't do. But nobody else gave me that thrill. With all your faults, I love you still. It had to be you, wonderful you. It had to be you. I'm gonna sit right down and write myself a little letter. I'm gonna make believe it came from you. I'm gonna write words oh so sweet. They're gonna knock you off your feet. A lot of kisses on the bottom. You'll be glad that you got 'em. Gonna smile and say, I hope you're feeling better. Then I'm gonna close with love the way you do. I'm gonna sit right down and write myself a letter. I'm gonna make believe. I'm gonna make believe. I'm gonna make believe it came from you. Right now.
Was that fabulous, kids? That's what you call, you know, no music was ever written like applause, was there?
No, that brought such joy to my heart. I want you to know that, and of course you and the listening audience. But if you could be here and see their faces,
Such
wow.
young kids. Now, these are kids who have not seen you perhaps perform in some of your great hits.
Movies.
But they didn't. It's your vitality, Betty. Now, other than myself, I don't know anybody with our energy. Did you always have this vitality?
All my life, yes. I had to have it to overcome all the handicaps, in growing up.
Now, I heard so many stories. You see, childhood of stars fascinate me because I wonder at what stage of their life they discover that they have something special.
I was a big 3 years old. My mother was a bootlegger.
Really? You're kidding.
No.
There.
In Battle Creek, Michigan. And then,
Battle Creek?
Yeah. And then we moved to Lansing, and we were thrown out of Lansing, Michigan when they caught her. And they said, if you ever come back, we're going to plant it on you and send you away for good, So we were just then about 5 and 6.
And you and your sister?
Then we lapped dissolved, though. I came to Hollywood at 19. And I became a star. I went back there with Let's Dance with Fred Astaire. And oh all the cops are there and the mayor of the city, you know, and they're taking us past this joint we used to live. Betty Hutton used to live here, you know.
Oh.
My mother said, at least this time they're in front of us, you know.
No kidding. Did she have a speakeasy?
Yeah, a real speakeasy.
And would
That's
you
how
entertain?
I got up on the kitchen table. My mother played guitar, and she taught me black bottom, she's got 'em black. That was my first song.
You probably have it from that song. Betty, let me ask you, your father was not in the picture?
No, I never saw my father in my whole life.
You never have yet to this day?
No. As a matter of fact, during the Time magazine review, that I was on the cover of Time
Which
magazine.
I'd like, well, we're supposed to show them
Well,
later.
later,
All
I
right,
suppose,
okay.
but you can show it now.
No, I'd like to show that now. I want to show you because
it was funny because I didn't tell.
This is something that happens to know. I don't know how many people have ever made the cover of Time. Do you all know what an honor this is? And now, at the time of this, Betty, what happened?
Well, you know, they do great research on their work. I mean, they won't put one line in that is not true. So everything I would tell them, they'd backtrack on it, and they really knew if I were lying to them. So they found out that my father shot himself to death at Sawtell Hospital, that I passed every day on my way to work, but he never got in contact with me, and I never saw him.
Oh, but that he is not.
No,
Because
that's
in the back
crazy.
of your mind would be the wonder.
I wonder
if
what he
was
looked
there.
like, you know, if I looked like him, or what. I didn't look like my mother. So I never saw him, and they told me he had killed himself, and it was because he was yearning to see us, you know, my sister and myself, and didn't have the guts to come forward, you know.
But this energy level. Now, look, some people have to do it, but you have. Now, are you?
I do everything that way. I clean house like that. I take care of the baby like that. Everybody goes wild when I'm around, you know.
Well, but
they say, Betty, sit down, you know. Leave us alone.
No, it's marvelous. And this is all from you.
It's
This is
inside.
inside
You
you.
know, when I get in front of an audience, it isn't always, but an audience, their love to me and mine to them, it's a feeling that you get inside. I've written a book called Backstage You Can Have, because today, for instance, when this curtain comes down and they all split out, I'm empty. There's nothing left because your love is gone. And you may talk about me for a few minutes somewhere, but that great excitement isn't there. So that I'm only really alive when they're doing like this, you know?
You know, people think being a star is such a fantastic life. The chorus,
no.
the chorus kids
They have a ball.
each other.
They have a
but
ball.
But the star is a very lonely
And the
woman.
band split out and have a ball. But the star, they feel, has a lot of things to do, has great fun going on. All I get to do is go home and sit down, and that's that. Except on your show, maybe somebody out there will call me up and say you were
Have
good.
for
You know,
dinner, for
I'll
goodness
leave you
sake,
my
yeah.
number.
I'm not allowed to do that. Oh, that's just kidding. That's a fake number.
No,
In Jersey, call Monticello 6. Now, Betty, we're going to skip over the years because apparently the next time that we really heard from you in a big way was when you auditioned for Billy Rose. Now, do you kids remember who Billy Rose was? He was one of the greatest impresarios, I guess, of our time.
In the world.
Married to Fanny Bryce.
Yes.
And
Then married the swimming star.
Esther Williams?
No, not Esther Williams.
Eleanor Holm? That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Eleanor Holm.
right.
I thought Johnny Weissmuller. Yes, and so listen. So now, how did you get your job
Well,
with him?
everything that happened to me never happened through an agent. It was, I always prayed a lot, Virginia, and I don't belong to any special faith, except I believe that God means it when he says, I'll take you by the hand and I will hold you up. So I prayed so hard for a break because I knew that my mom was slowly slipping away from me with booze and whatnot. So when I was 13, I was in a nightclub singing, not by a nightclub, it wasn't legitimate yet. It was, you know.
The speakeasy
Yeah,
still. Yeah.
And Lopez was there, and I sang, and I ran around the room and broke
Vincent
everything.
Lopez?
Yeah. And I didn't even know who he was. I only knew from the Casaloma band, you know. So he hired me and took me $65 a week I got. And I took my mother and my sister, and we went with the band, and we toured the country, and I saw Harry Richmond, Ella Logan, and then I broke in at the Casa Mañana, and they didn't have an opening act one night. They didn't show up. Now, I'm supposed to go on, because Billy Rose has noticed that all the crowd gathers around when I'm singing. So he bounces down to see what's going on.
He was a little man.
A little tiny guy, yeah. And he said, we'll put her in for the opening, but no lights till the stars come out. Now, the stars then were old then also. They were Helen Morgan, Harry Richmond, Benny Fields. So I got my training by watching these great, great performers. They taught me how to get on a stage, how to get off a stage. There's little...
So you sang that night without spotlights?
No lights. So I knelt down, I said, God, this is my time. If I don't make it tonight, lights or no lights, I'll never make it again. So I went out. In those days, you sang a chorus of a song and then sat down for 16 bars and sang the ending. Well, I sang a tisket, I lost my yellow basket. And we get to the 16 bars, and I thought, what'll I do? I jumped down on the front table where they're eating, you know, and I smashed up all the plates and ran back up and picked up Lopez, who weighed 300 pounds, and swung him around and sat him down and went back up, finished my number, and bedlam broke loose in the joint. No, then they put the lights on. To see what, then I took the curtain that was high as your ceiling and swung out for a bow, you know.
On the curtain.
On the curtain.
A star was born that night.
And that night they came out and the MC said, you're seeing what is called a star is born. So it was that kind of God made that happen.
Nobody's ever done it since. Do you know, I can't think of another person who really took a situation.
But I didn't. It was a power beyond me. What made me do that, to jump onto a table where they're eating?
Well, I have a different power. See, I have a power that comes from the control room. It's called a commercial.
Oh, the commercial.
And I have to do one now, and I'll be right back. All right, now from that came
Two for the Show with Keenan Wynn. And then came Panama Hattie with Ethel Merman.
What was it like working with the great Merman?
Well, she's sort of difficult.
Really, in what way?
Well, like, for instance, we were on the road for 6 weeks, and we had a number that Cole Porter couldn't write enough encores for, that I did with Arthur Treacher. And I believe you have a picture of Arthur Treacher there, too, somewhere in here. At least I saw it somewhere. No, they took it out. Okay, with Arthur Treacher. And he couldn't write enough encores for it, and she left it all on the road. And then opening night comes a note on my table. The number is cut. Oh, I dragged onto that stage, and I wanted to kill her. But I got my great revenge, or my God again walked in. I did Annie, Get Your Gun, and she did it on the stage.
Well, you got the movie.
And I got the movie, and they said the movie was better than the stage show.
Well, sometimes I had a friend that was a singer, and the star of the show was a dancer. And every time my friend reached a high C, a foot would come up right from the side. I guess maybe that's the way, the insecurity of the business then.
Well, no, they were more secure then. My God, she had diamonds on her arms from the guy that owned the Stork Club that said Merman and Sherman. You know, square cut diamonds. Who could be insecure with square cut diamonds?
And with a long name.
Woo.
I would have had someone named Finkelstein.
Yeah.
Or something long with more diamonds, right? Here, let me show you some of the things. Now, for instance, what was it like to work with the master hoofer?
Bob Hope is a doll. I knocked out his caps in this picture.
You're kidding.
No, I didn't mean to. I just made a fast move and knocked out his front caps, you know.
Now, how many years ago would you say this is?
That's about 20 years ago.
Don't you think she looks better now? I absolutely do. Now, this is a very interesting...
Something.
Yes, say something. Say something. What is this, Betty? What is this?
That's where it's blackface for Somebody Loves Me.
which is the first time that was done on the screen, I believe.
Now, how many movies did you make, Betty?
Oh, I've made about 30 or 40. I can't remember all of them. That's from Perils of Pauline. I did all my own stunts. That's on a real airplane, you know.
How far off the ground?
Oh, way off the ground.
Well, why would
like
you do
Greatest
that?
Show on Earth, I did all the flying myself.
What about when you were with DeMille?
Oh,
The story when you didn't when you wanted
he was the love of my life, but I went in to get the part, you know.
Tell what show. Tell what show it
The
was.
Greatest Show on Earth. I think you kids saw that. Did you see that?
Did you see it?
See
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
It's about time you saw something I did.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway, I went into his office, and he wouldn't quite tell me who was the lead, but he said, both of the girls have equally important parts. And I thought, this isn't quite right. So I walked out of his office and looked down the line of girls. I said, I got it. And they said, the part of Polly? I said, aha, that's the aerialist, Polly. So I went to a florist, and a thing built bigger than this space.
the microphone is here if you'll sit down.
Pardon.
No, only so they can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, a great big circle, like an arena, you know, like they have them say. And we put an elephant in it, and not a real one, but a big one, and a trapeze. And we would put a blonde doll on each one. And I said, Mr. DeMille, my future rests in your hands. Which shall it be? And well, he said, that broad is such a showman, she's got it. What he didn't know, I was already flying in the air 30 feet on the stage.
Who was the other girl?
Gloria Graham played the elephant girl.
Gloria Graham? I heard it was Lucille Ball.
No, Gloria Graham.
Oh, we heard it was Lucille Ball and that she couldn't take the part because she was pregnant. There is a Gloria Graham?
Yeah.
No wonder they call me Gloria Graham. That's number 10. She
Sure.
played the elephant girl. Well,
Yeah.
What was that? I hope she was in charge of the elephant. She didn't pose.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right. Now, Betty, how many millions of dollars did you make?
$9.5 million.
I'm hesitant. Don't applaud.
It's gone.
It's gone. How could you
Go through it.
go through 9.5
Well, it's
million?
very easy. I had 4 husbands.
That's very easy. That's
They're very expensive. I figured out I'm going to marry this time a millionaire. It's going to be just as easy to be happy with a rich man as the poor ones that I married, you know?
That's what my mother used to tell me. Well, now I want you to hear a fine young singer that you'll appreciate because he's
I
going to
heard him
bring some
rehearsing.
sun. Did you hear him?
Yeah.
He's just marvelous.
Just-
Sun in Our Life from Mr. Sonny Charles. Thank you very much. I'm so happy to see you again, and I know who that applause is. That applause is for my charming and beautiful and talented Miss Betty Hutton. Right?
Thank you.
Right. Betty, I want you to meet a very dear friend of mine. She's been on my show several times. She's an extremely talented, warm, lovely human being. One of the rare people whose heart is so big that it could be described as enormous. Welcome, Miss Morgana King. Well, my dear, you look pretty good yourself. Is this tapestry?
It should be.
You know, my daughter does work. Betty, do you do needlepoint?
I can't sew a stitch.
Oh, this is marvelous in between
Oh,
takes.
this is great therapy.
Right.
Listen, do you make your own clothes?
Yes.
Why?
Well, you know, I have proportions that are very difficult to pick off a rack.
No, but is it, listen, no, you don't. No, but I think
but
for
you-
individuality. No, I think you look at this squirrel. I mean, this mink. This mink, I don't
This
want to...
I had made. Just,
Yeah, this made. Is it new?
Yeah.
It's stunning. What did you have to do for that?
It was a very
Morgana?
old stole, Virginia.
Oh, just shorten the
So
sleeves?
I just had it remodeled, you know, just,
Yeah.
I don't like
I
to
love
waste
that.
anything.
Don't you like a lumberjack?
It's beautiful,
I think it's stunning.
beautiful.
I love it. And no, but I think in making your own clothes, you get a feeling of individuality.
Right, exactly.
Did you hear what Betty said to the audience
I
when
love
she's
Betty.
saying?
I've been a fan of Betty's for years.
Everybody that's
Love
ever
her.
seen her.
I'm only 22.
Well, we all are. That's in the shade. Now, what about, did you hear what Betty said about that she feels the greatest part of show business is the audience? Do you feel that way?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, we're here for that reason.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's what turns you
Absolutely.
on.
Well, I was discussing it with your writer,
Yeah.
that in order to bring...
Not my
a
writer,
great-
my interviewer.
Your interviewer.
Yeah, we have no one right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No one
dear.
right to line. No, that's very, no, I want to make that very clear because I didn't talk to you for 1 minute before the show.
Right, of course.
You are pre-interviewed by someone who gives me your opinions.
Right.
But not a word is written.
That's for sure.
Right?
That's
All right.
for sure.
So now you were talking to my interviewer.
Well, I was saying the best performances come from the performer who is programmed and conditioned to work to the audience.
Yeah.
And never allows any bad vibes to enter the performance.
Yeah.
And creates the aura of light through self-hypnosis, which it is, you know. when you
Now wait,
perform.
now what about the movie actress who never worked in front of an audience? How were they able to convey the
That's
depth
an
of
audience,
emotion?
though, really.
Oh,
You've got
sure, your
technicians,
crew, your crew,
There's over 100 people on that
These
set.
aren't mechanical fixtures anymore. They become something that you work to, and it's you know that through that medium you reach the souls.
I
And
mean, their reaction is
Of
the
course.
incentive.
Even if just the crew were here, I
Right.
would perform as hard as I could.
Right.
As long as there's a human being standing there,
Yes.
they gotta accept me or I die.
the vibrations come through.
Yeah.
You feel their vibrations.
Now, you sound like you have a great feeling about the telepathy of people's
oh
emotions.
yes, absolutely.
Do you?
Psychic phenomenon, of course.
Now, in what way? Do we all have it, or
All of us do.
now in
all
what
of
way?
Some of it's more.
Well, we don't, a lot of people just don't use it, but we all have psychic and extrasensory perception. All
Yeah,
of us.
I have.
Do you?
I can
I
get a
don't.
phone call and I can see the face of the person who's calling me. And before they even talk, I say, hi, so-and-so, and they go, oh my God, Morgana, you're blowing my mind. But I'm in tune to that, and I
Yeah.
dig it. I happen to think it's a very, very important part of living.
Morgana, there's also something bad about it when you get in a bad crowd or the audience do not respond, which happens, you just absolutely, I die
So
inside.
don't you feel that the great majority of the people who come to see you want to see you?
That's true,
and they
but you
do
can
love
hit
you.
a bad house.
But that's because you've related to a bad vibe. I never will relate to that.
Vibe is short for
I create the
vibration.
Well,
aura-
then I don't dig what you're
Yes.
saying, I
Oh,
guess.
well, let me.
I can
I'm
explain it.
sorry.
Let her
I'll explain it
explain.
more
But
clearly.
Explain it. A vibration
The
from the
vibrations
audience.
that come through are usually
But what if they're
positive.
bad?
No, well, I'm trying to say this. When people take their time to come see a performer,
And
you know
pay.
they love you.
And pay
they love
dearly.
you in front.
But what about benefits where they don't pay?
They still love the fact that you're there. They go to a benefit because they know people are going to contribute
Oh,
their
I've put some
services.
terrible benefits.
Well, I've never had bad reaction. Never. I've been conditioned and programmed
You're
to
lucky.
want to make the best of my performance and to get only positive from them. So if I do feel a negative, it's because I haven't allowed the aura of light to work for me.
She's 100% right. It's the mental attitude you go
Exactly.
in. When you approach an audience, you go in with a feeling that these people love
Of
you.
course.
But you do have times, Morgana, unless you are a robot, of being not quite up to it. If it like
Oh, honey, I almost fainted on the stage of the Coconut Grove.
Yeah.
And I
You
say
did?
this in all honesty.
Yeah,
I related to Judy Garland.
yeah.
I turned myself off and I said, please help
Just-
me.
yeah.
She was dead at the time.
You have to use something else
And I
then.
swear to you, I had a strength, an inner strength from the soul of this being who I adore.
Yeah.
And I almost fainted. I was,
You have
after
to
my
use the
accident.
technique, yeah.
8
Yeah.
weeks after the accident, I went to work. I had a contract to fulfill. So after 8 weeks, I was really in bad shape. I was in intensive care, but I had to work the Coconut Grove. And after 1 week, the second show on a Saturday night, I felt the palpitations, my heart, and I was really weakening. And I just prayed, to myself inside. I said, please let me relate to something very positive. Judy Garland came to me, I swear to you. And I could see her. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah,
I saw
that
this
vibe,
beautiful, marvelous spirit come to me, and I carried on.
I must admit that this is true because my father has sustained me from
Oh, beautiful.
moments when I've pleaded for it. I never feel like I have a right to ask God, who's got so many major decisions to make. So we we
pick
call
one
it
soul,
one
or we
soul.
find a soul.
My mother was burned to death 6 years ago. And when that happened, I turned off the vibes, as you say, and I went back into something awful. I couldn't relate to anything. You know, I stopped praying.
Well,
You
that's a
became
hard
a
thing.
void. That's
yeah.
how good.
No,
You-
it's
that's- I
bad.
know.
It's really bad.
I mean,
This
I
is the
could have
first-
fainted, actually.
This is the first show I've done, Virginia, since that tragic thing happened, you know, to
Well,
me.
I'm glad you're back out because you have so
No,
much to offer.
Virginia, I called her up. She didn't call me because I was talking to some people at a party, and they said, why don't you call Virginia Graham? I watch her show every day. I thought, she's got boots on her. What is
I know.
You know what I'm trying to say.
Juice.
She's got that thing. She must have suffered something in her life. She'll understand what I'm saying, that I need to be seen again and loved again by an audience. And she did. She came right through the television.
We'll be right back. While we were away for the commercial, my fabulous Jimmy Rowles Trio was playing You've Got to Accentuate the Positive. And that's what this woman has done. Morgana King is truly one of our greats in everything she does. Morgana King.
This time we almost made the pieces fit. Ooh, didn't we, babe? This time we almost, yes, we almost made some sense of it. Didn't we, babe? This time I had the answer right here in my hand, and then I touched it. And it had turned to sand. Ooh, yes. This time we almost sang our song in tune. Didn't we, babe? This time we almost, yeah, we almost made it to the moon. Ooh, didn't we? This time we almost made our parade. Yeah, this time we almost made hard climb. Didn't we almost make it? Ooh, this time.
darling. That was just wonderful. I can't tell you how, over there, darling, I'll tell you why. You know, the fact that you once had wanted to be a social worker, I think you are going to be enormously interested in our next guest, and I think you will too, Betty, because he's the third director in the 10-year history of the Peace Corps. He's currently putting together the new Action Corps, which is designed to unite the efforts of the United States government in the field of citizen services, and President Nixon has described him as one of the ablest young men he's ever known. Well, that's a good endorsement. Please welcome Mr. Joe Blatchford. Well, Joe, how's peace?
Well, it's always hard to come by any time in the world.
You know what I think must be so fascinating for you is to find out what the definition of peace is. Mm-hmm. Some people, I guess, have been abused so much that they must consider what we would call devastation peace.
Well, we've sought for so long in our history to just keep the guns silent and people from going at each other militarily. And it appears that we're going to be able to wind the war down now in this administration, and that we're going to really stop the fighting and withdraw from Vietnam. But still, there's a different kind of a peace, too. The Ashanti people I know in Africa have a saying that it's the calm and silent waters that drown a man. And
That's very true.
They're still,
What does that mean?
Well, when people are hungry and starving as they are in the world, when there's still older people who are not cared for medically, whenever there's these quiet suffering that goes on in the world, it may seem peaceful.
Yeah, because nobody hears them. They're
it may
crying
seem
out,
peaceful,
but nobody hears them.
It's the cause of war, really.
But you hear about those starving people. You read about it.
Well, that's what's going on throughout the community.
But there's a louder noise. You see, noise is drowned out.
You mean
by
the war
noise.
is louder than the hungry sound?
Well, our attentions, you know, our correspondence, all our energies seem to have, over history, gone to the war machine and toward making and participating in war, and we don't often give the energy and the thought to peace, which is really toward curing the causes of war, working with peoples and
making them
feeding
independent,
feeding
making them independent.
That's right.
Isn't that it,
That's
really,
right.
Joe?
It's pathetic. That
right.
people relate to a negative thing as war and not to a positive thing
What
as
if they
peace.
had fed the Asian people? They were well fed. They still been at war with France before us. I mean, they were well fed, weren't they?
Well, really, there's so many causes of aggression and war, and in this last decade, say through the Peace Corps, we've tried to mobilize people to go out and really help people to farm and help them to get medical service and help them in so many ways that will build the tools
You see, the
will
worst
build
thing in
the
the
kind of a world that all young people want and get us kind of beating that battle and get us away from the constant defending ourselves and aggression and so forth.
The worst thing, I think, is to lend someone money, to lend him a hand, to make the money for himself is the dignity. Now, as the third director, I think Sergeant Shriver was first.
That's right.
Who was second?
Jack Vaughn.
All right, now, what are going to be the changes that Joe Blatchford is going to make?
Well, we found about 2 years ago that the developing countries today need people of all backgrounds.
What
all
countries
skills.
would they be? What would
we're
you
in
go?
60 countries in Africa, from Kenya to Morocco to the South Sea Islands, to Thailand, Brazil, Chile, all the developing countries of the world, 60 countries in which the Peace Corps is working in. Now, over the years, most people have the image the Peace Corps is pretty much liberal arts graduates, single men and women out of college. When in fact today, the Peace Corps is made up of Americans, you might say young people of all ages, people with farm backgrounds, skilled tradesmen.
Married men and women?
Married men and women. In fact, we're allowing them to take their children overseas, whole families.
Well, what do you pay them that would make them want to do
Just
this?
their subsistence allowance.
That's so beautiful.
Because we...
Yeah, but it
that's
takes
all.
a certain kind of a human being that would be able to say to the children, now you're going to live on almost poverty rations.
Well, I think we
Oh, but
underestimate
they
ourselves.
feed their souls, Virginia. These people are
but you gotta
true
eat too. I
believers
think
in the
Virginia
brotherhood
has
of
a
man.
point.
This is
But
brotherhood
they're
of
well
man.
fed,
One
aren't
second,
they?
kids.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is true
fed.
brotherhood. You know, you don't worry about material things when you're doing something.
When you're older, you get the wiseness. It's unusual.
I mean, what do
For
you
instance, I'm going to have to interrupt you for a commercial. Now, I need the bread. We'll be right back. We're talking to Joe Blatchford, who is the new director for Action. My father once told me, Joe, that service to the community is the rent you pay for living in this world. And in one sentence, it tells it all. At what age does a person become aware of the fact that he really has to serve his community?
Well, I think that particularly when they're young, people that are young have a sensibility about the world. They've been taught one thing when they've gone to school. They've been taught ideals and principles. And then, as we all know, those start becoming compromised. They become more complex as we see the world. And the young people, I think, are the ones who are more committed and more essentially demanding that the society produce what it says it believes in. And we've seen this in the Peace Corps, 50,000 volunteers who've gone overseas to 60 countries. We've seen it with VISTA here at home, where Americans have volunteered to serve in their own communities. And Action consists of not only the Peace Corps and VISTA, but Action consists of the foster grandparents who are low-income,
That's all now under a new umbrella, isn't it?
People, older Americans who want to continue to serve their community and others. And they're working with children in children's homes. It's a really beautiful love story to see this kind of thing happen.
Of course, I think VISTA, if you'll pardon me,
Yes.
just as an American, I'm all for Action in the Peace Corps, but we have so much in our own country that needs help that I would rather not force a child or a young person to project himself into the life of someone else as much as his own community. Do you realize the slums and the poverty and the hunger we have right in this country? Why aren't we concentrating more on that?
Well, we are. I think that's one of the reasons for Action. The president said at the University of Nebraska, let's form a new agency which will concentrate on domestic concerns. He's asked the Congress for additional funds and brought it together under Action and said, let's put an end to this debate of whether we should work here or here, overseas or at home. There's time in your life to do both. If you're interested in being a member of the world community, there's needs in Pakistan and India and in Chile and in Peru. But of course, as you say, we've got them here, so we've got to concentrate here. And in fact, in Action, a person could volunteer now, and he could serve both at home and abroad. Mm-hmm. He could serve a year in Watts or in...
how many years do they have usually? 2-year service?
2-year service in the Peace Corps and 1 in VISTA. So many now are coming back from the Peace Corps and doing another stint of service at home because of their experience they've gotten, and vice versa.
What if they were in the middle of a college, and they had college life, and they decided to take off a year? Do they get credit for any of this work?
Well, it's interesting. We just began a program this fall on the college campus whereby a student can spend 1 year off the campus. Lay down the textbooks, leave the lecture halls, go off the campus, spend a full year working in a drug abuse center or in a clinic in a rural area, working with a migrant camp, getting a real life experience of what life is all about, a real education. And the colleges are granting a full year of academic credit for that year.
Now, what about girls, Joe?
This is what we call University Year in Action. Well, certainly men and women both.
Isn't it more dangerous? As the mother of a daughter, I would think it would be the living conditions, the fact that she might be assaulted if she's an attractive young woman. What protection is the young woman given?
As the husband of a former volunteer, who's my wife was one of the first volunteers in Venezuela, and when she came down under a program that I had organized in South America, we gave her some things to do, like teaching sewing and English and things we thought that the women ought to be doing. She wound up organizing a clearance program and putting in a sewer in a poor area of Caracas. So I have great confidence in the women's ability to mobilize the population.
They ought to be fighting the war.
If they're going to be the mothers of the world, they have to have that strength within themselves. Oh,
Yeah,
it's
but
part of it, though.
She
It's
didn't
part
dig
of
it.
I had a great aunt who left Sicily when she was a young girl and went to a leper colony in Africa.
Oh,
And you know how many years ago this is? I mean, it's been going on for many years,
This
Virginia.
is a tradition particularly in our society. De Tocqueville, the great French scholar, came over here over 150 years ago, and he said Americans are very funny people. When they have a problem, they volunteer to go out in the community and solve it. They don't ask the government for everything, and they can do it themselves. And I think the Peace Corps in today's times and VISTA and now Action are really embodiments of that spirit.
That's marvelous. We want to talk more about it, and we will right after this announcement. I guess the Peace Corps really has to paint a new picture of democracy versus the false promises.
We don't try to sell words like that. We try to demonstrate them, essentially.
Right.
Just
We've got the audience talking so about what we're talking about. Kids later. Yeah, we've got young people who are talking. They're so interested. Yes,
Well,
what were you saying,
live
Joe?
it.
Yeah.
They're a part of it.
Joe,
Really.
we were talking about drafting young people. Now, we have several young high schools here in our audience today. What do you think about drafting people as opposed to the volunteer? What do you lose in that?
Well, you know, the president is committed to ending the draft for military purposes, and that's, as the war is winding down, we're all hopeful that is going to end. Now, what I'd like to see is a voluntary national service where everyone gives a year or two of their life at some time, either out of high school or college when you have the time and energy to dedicate to it, or as you retire, and you know more people are retiring earlier right now, or in mid-career.
Doesn't matter when, does it?
Excuse me?
It doesn't really matter when you
Doesn't matter.
yourself.
I mean, we have, let's say, 40 years of active adult life. Why couldn't we give 2 to 4 of that
Well,
to our
some young
community?
people, of course, have the support of an elderly father and mother or someone who's crippled. Everybody has a responsibility to their own country,
That's
too.
right, and to their own
I
community.
can't help but believe we've got to clean up America before. If we make an America a country without slums, without poverty, without racial hatred, then we've really got something to sell.
That's
we
never
can do
gonna
it.
be, though.
Yes, it will.
That's a perfect world.
But you
you're talking
can't
about.
lose sight of the fact that there are other people that exist as well. You know, I mean,
don't
you have
think
to
you really
extend
have to,
further than that. Your scope must be much broader than that.
But how can you feel somebody else's pain when you don't feel your own family's
But you do.
pain?
That's the
do,
point.
though.
When you
Oh,
do
you
for
do.
others, you do for yourself as well.
You do more for your own country by helping them. You come back and realize
I don't
how
think it has
lucky you've
anything to
been
do
here.
with country. It has to do with man. Helping man.
Yeah, and
Man
The
here,
brainwash
and then
is-
we helped man there.
right.
I
That's
can't
right.
buy that.
I think we
Well,
can
I don't
do
think
both.
you can't do it, Virginia, unless you've done it and know what it is for yourself. Don't you understand what I'm saying?
Well, if you've gone and helped your own...
I mean, I don't want a
suffering-
lame to come to me and say they're going to help me if they're a lame. Do you know what I mean by that?
Well, we are lame now. We're offering help and we are lame.
You really think we're lame?
Oh, yes. If we have one person starving here and one child that isn't getting nutrition and older people that are not being taken care of, we're lame.
Well, don't you think we should make the whole combination work?
Yes, I do.
None of it's going to
First,
happen overnight, I don't think, Virginia.
Right.
But for the first time, you know, this year, our budget for domestic concerns in health and housing outstrips our Defense Department budget. Now, this is a trend, and I think the 70s is going to be rededication to this
Oh, I
trend.
pray. Thank you so much, Morgana and Joe and Betty. Let's pray that what you say is right. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
Prizes on today's show are provided by a wardrobe of Gucci design lingerie exclusively by Form Fit Rogers. Be colorful at day's end. That's the Form Fit Rogers idea. His or her 17 jewel watch from Fenris. Ladies dress watch, shock resistant and anti-magnetic. Men's design winds itself and changes date automatically. All these quality features from Fenris. A $25 gift certificate from Pier 1 Imports, the uncommon store for uncommon people. Unique gifts from 63 countries of the world. Pier 1 Imports from coast to coast.
Now stay tuned for What's My Line, next on Channel 9.